We went and bought a graphics company. And at that time, Les Bedez was running what was called corporate development, which became Intel Capital. And after that transaction, he just invited me to join Intel Capital. And it was, yeah, quite a learning experience. My first few deals that, you have to learn how, it's a different way of thinking. There's different things to look for. And the nice thing about Les is he said, hey, if you haven't done a bad deal, you're not taking enough risk.
Yeah.
So it was like, get out there and just learn by doing. And that was just an amazing, experience with people around who coached and had experience. I mean, Intel was venture backed, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
So that it was steeped in kind of the DNA to do venture and to use venture to grow their business.
So what was the thing that was the most fun for you with that really got your fire going for venture? Because clearly you've now made this everything you do, right?
Yeah. So, I saw a couple things. Working with the entrepreneurs was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I got to work with just amazing people, amazing teams. But what really, after doing it for a little while, and I'll tell you, my first investments were all around, we had a vision when we all had these little flip phones, we had the vision of what we have today. And so we did the first investments in GPS in 802.11, which is, Bluetooth chips.
How fun. Now you've seen it go into market.
First mobile games, first OSs, first mobile video, I had a whole portfolio of that. And you really see, oh my gosh, we changed the world, all of those things, which was the vision. And so once you see and have done that, the power is amazing. And so that is why I do this, because we need other changes in our world, right? There's lots of changes. And I can see that this is a vehicle, not the only vehicle, but a vehicle for making change. And it can be done very intentionally. The cell phone was not an accident. It was very intentionally invested across the ecosystem. Many parties had to come together to make it work, from the wireless carriers to the chip makers. We can do a lot of good things intentionally in venture.
Well, it sounds to me like you really believe that venture can be a catalyst for shaping the world, right? So you're talking about, these, something that's ubiquitous now for all of us, which is our telephone, right? And all the different things who would have known 30 years ago that we would use it for every single minute of our lives, right? What else are you seeing as possible? What's the future cell phone, new surge that you want to see shape the world?
Yeah. So, I have decided to focus on what I would consider positive impact technologies. And as you know, we've moved on to, and I've done some work in clean tech, and I'm very excited about making investments in that space, everything from renewable energy to circular economy technologies and energy efficiency. I've done a lot in that area. So I'm really excited. We need to do it more rapidly. We need to not be afraid of it. And we just, and we're seeing great entrepreneurs go into that. Yeah. So that's one area.
Boy, are we desperate for that change. I mean, we have got to fix this climate issue. The world's on fire right now as we are recording this podcast. So well, thank you for that. So much of what you're doing today, in addition to that, is focusing on leadership. And so I would imagine you were the only woman in the room in a lot of that journey that you've had. How has that shaped your leadership? And what are some of the sort of core tenets of leadership that you believe in and espouse today?
Yeah, so that's a great observation. And yes, that was the case. And I look back a little bit sadly in that our portfolio was, predominantly male leaders as we develop those companies. And so as a woman, what I saw a lot of times is there was a tendency, and I mean, I did this early on too, is to just like hide a lot of your female intuition.
Oh, did you wear pencil ties and shoulder pads in the late 80s?
And anyway, the bad dress, we could just, we could, anyway, but there is a tendency to try to fit in there. And and what I realized over time is, oh my gosh, that's just such a huge mistake. Like what you bring to the table is just your unique perspective and experience. And of course, I was having children while, I was doing this. And I mean, there's just so many instances where I finally just decided, no, I'm just going to bring that all. That is what we need to bring. And I mean, I sat in meetings. I can remember one conference, I won't mention the name, a Stanford professor stand up in front of a bunch of women. It had to be in the 90s and just say, yeah, you need to act like a guy, basically. And I remember just cringing,
really?
And wanting this. But that was a lot of the predominant. I mean, this was a Stanford business school person, So, but it took a little while, and now I love working with the women in Fourth Wave. They are all unabashedly themselves. We encourage that. We do all kinds of coaching. I've got wonderful leadership coaches who are experienced. I'm really excited. One of our leadership coaches just came out of. She helped grow HR at Dropbox from the very beginning, using conscious leadership tools. Anyway, so things have changed, and that's for the good. That's definitely for the good.
Yeah. Thank you for putting that front and center. Tell us a little bit more about the Fourth Wave Accelerator. You are a co-founder, and you're really focusing on these, high potential female technology founders. Why you? I mean, it's sort of obvious, but what is your perspective around them and how you can add value and what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, when the opportunity came up to do this, I did a little research because someone asked me, hey, would you help out with this accelerator? So I went and did a little research, and the Kauffman Foundation had done some work on women and venture and what were some of the gaps in moving forward. And the two things that they identified was access to mentorship and access to scale capital. And so we decided at the beginning, okay, that's the gap that we want to focus on. I obviously saw it being, in investing, and wondering like, why am I always seeing these dudes? I'm never seeing like these really brilliant, I shouldn't say never, but rarely seeing these really brilliant women. And I know we had a ton of them in Intel, and it was just like, what? So I just set out, let's experiment. It was really fun because nobody had any really preconceived expectations. So I just went out to my network and got mentors, and coaches, because as my venture evolved, as my work in venture evolved and I evolved, I realized that team is everything and leadership is everything. I would take a great leader with a less attractive technology and market over a bad leader that's going after something that's really obviously big, because they learn rapidly, they grow together.
Everybody has to pivot so many times in the early days in particular, and you have to continue to evolve. And if your ego is too big, or you're not willing to listen, it's going to be hard for you to go from one scale to the next.
Right, or absolutely. So from the very beginning, in addition to the regular business mentorship that you would expect in Accelerator, I decided let's bring in leadership, mentorship, and coaching from the very beginning, and let's put equal weight on that.
Yes.
And so we did that. And again, because I've been doing a lot of work in that area, I had a good network of coaches using a variety of tools. And so I was kind of like, hey, let's do a bunch of tools. Let's just not do one tool, like fix it. Let's bring in a bunch of different things, because what resonates with you at this moment may not resonate with me, but something else may. So and that was really, really quite fun. And everyone was game to try it. So we did our first cohort in 2017, and it was so joyful for me to see the growth and just the transformation of the women and their companies that I just knew, oh my gosh, we've got to keep on, we've got to keep on doing it.